A few things before we get started. You're welcome to share this and any other video I create on social media. After the introduction to the channel, I began numbering these videos. I would encourage you to watch the videos in order as I will be building upon concepts from previous episodes. Alright, let's go. Everything I tell you is for information purposes only. This is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. I had some audio issues in the previous video. I'm wearing headphones in an attempt to fix that. Also, I'll probably split this concept up into multiple videos to keep them from being too long. If we go back to the CDC list of top causes of death in the United States, we'll see that diabetes is number 7. I'm sure we all know someone who either has diabetes currently or who passed away from complications due to it. In this video, I'll give a brief history of diabetes, what it is, how modern medicine views it and treats it, and what you personally can do to get rid of it. The full name of the disease, diabetes mellitus, is a mixture of Greek and Latin and very roughly translates into a sweet passing through. A key mark of diabetes in ancient times was when the sufferer's urine was sweet. I'm hoping that they just noticed that there were ants attracted to the urine of the sufferer, and I'm hoping they didn't do other things to figure out that the urine of diabetics was sweet. But basically, glucose is spilling over in a diabetic's urine so much that eventually the body tries filtering out through the urine just to try to get rid of it. Diabetes has been written about as far back as ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. The main breakthrough in the treatment of diabetes came around in the 1920s. Some scientists discovered that if they injected insulin from healthy dogs into diabetic dogs, their diabetes symptoms would improve. That seems to be the only big blip on the radar when it comes to treatment. There are 2 main types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. We used to refer to type 1 diabetes as juvenile diabetes, and we used to refer to type 2 diabetes as adult onset diabetes. In recent years, we've gotten away from those names, mostly because we've been seeing younger and younger children being diagnosed with diabetes. In 2015, there was a young lady in Texas who was diagnosed with diabetes, and she was only 3 years old. Also, some adults who've had type 2 diabetes for a long time and haven't been able to keep those symptoms in check have turned into type 1 diabetics. It doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen. For my type 1 diabetics who have never had type 2, your type 1 diabetes is basically because your immune system has murdered the cells that you would normally use to make insulin. My advice can help you to not have to use as much insulin, but it won't help you grow the new pancreas that you would need. Here's a picture of a pancreas. That is to show you where in the human body that it is located, just behind the stomach. Here's a picture of alpha cells and beta cells within a pancreas. The alpha cells secrete glucagon and the beta cells secrete insulin. Those 2 hormones will be mentioned in multiple videos. In type 1 diabetes, the beta cells are obliterated by the immune system. In type 2 diabetes, the cells are just burnt out from overuse. It helps me to think of those 2 hormones in terms of yin and yang. The yin, insulin, is a force of growth and energy storage, and the yang Glucagon is a force of breaking down and energy usage. In modern man, the yin runs wild, unchecked, with disastrous results. Just like the phases of the moon or the tides of the ocean, the body should go through phases of building things up and breaking things down. This concept will play really heavily into the cancer video, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I talk about the real problem, I need to talk about diabetes through the eyes of modern medicine. Now, the vast majority of people with diabetes have type 2 diabetes. I think it's like 95%. From here on out, when I talk about diabetes, I'm talking about type 2. I went to the website for the American Diabetes Association, clicked on type 2 diabetes, and started looking around. According to them, type 2 diabetes means that you don't use insulin properly. Now, you might be thinking, if I'm intelligently designed like you claim I am, then how come my body isn't using insulin properly? Let's put that to the side for now and come back to it. The Diabetes Association describes 4 different ways to test whether or not you're diabetic. The basic principle behind each of these is once there is too much glucose in your blood, then you're a diabetic. The first is hemoglobin A1C. They say once your hemoglobin A1C gets up to 5.7, then you are pre-diabetic. And once your hemoglobin A1C gets up to 6.5, then you are a full-blown diabetic. Remember from my video on heart disease that my last hemoglobin A1C was 5.0, and here we are mentioning it again. Isn't that interesting? Let's pull up that list of the CDC's top killers again. Now remember, heart disease was number 1, strokes were number 5, and I said that was basically the same affliction just happening at different locations within the body. Cancer is number 2. I'll talk about hemoglobin A1C there. Alzheimer's is number 6. I'll talk about A1C there as well. Number 8 is kidney disease. The overwhelming majority of kidney disease is due to type 2 diabetes. So there's really no need for me to even make a kidney disease video on its own. I'll take the similarities a step further than that. I'm going to simplify this so much so that it's technically incorrect. But understand that I only do that to get you to see the big picture. Think of kidney disease as diabetes in your kidneys. Think of Alzheimer's disease as diabetes in your brain. Think of PCOS as diabetes in your ovaries. Think of having an enlarged prostate as diabetes in your prostate. Think of having non-alcoholic fatty liver disease as having diabetes in your liver. And then there's your heart. I'll take that further yet again. People who have heart attacks are diabetic. It's just a question of whether or not they were diagnosed. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to stop here. In the next video, I'll pick back up with the ways that the American Diabetes Association says you should test for diabetes. Stay tuned for more.